Recording. All right. We are here with self-proclaimed hood rat noir and gutter cyberpunk novelist Kelby Losack. How are you doing today?
What's good? I'm good, bro. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. I mean, I quit my job the other day, so that was fun.
Yeah, I heard about that. Tell me about this.
Well, I mean, it was just I got tired of being overworked and found a job that I don't have to work weekends, so that's where we're at.
That's the best. Yeah, I mean, you gotta look out for yourself,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and I
It's
had to
just
I had to
what it
talk to
is.
David, I had to talk to my wife, had to figure out like this is something I really want to do. I want to make this switch, but everyone was encouraging, so here we are.
Yeah, I couldn't see David being the type to like hold you down and have to, be like, no, don't leave.
Well, and I've been trying to convince him to quit and just write full time.
He's getting there, bro. He's on the path for it. If anybody can do it, he can. I mean,
Do
yeah,
you write
he's
full time, or do you have like a day job you work in between?
I got a bunch of different hustles.
Oh, okay.
So like this year is looking like I've got a lot of cabinet making shit lined up. So that's
Okay.
been good. And then I'm working on a TV pilot. So that's got some funding behind it. So those are kind of my two things, my two big hustles leading into the year.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh
So a TV pilot based on one of your books, or
so yeah, pretty heavily based on letting out the devils. But I've got like whole new. It's I had the idea for the series separate from my book shit, but I was just kind of like taking shit I'd already written and kind of reimagining it and whatever. And I'm gonna go off in different directions with it is the plan.
I
But
mean that's what we're doing today, basically.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I read Mercy. It was great. I like books that aren't too long. I read a lot of books that like take forever to read, and you're like, let's get to it. And Mercy, what I because sometimes like I think there were a few chapters that were one sentence, and I was like, oh, good, like getting to the point and moving, and I was able to read it, so it was great. I was like, oh wow, like it was very and like when you just have one sentence, it's more poignant. I feel like.
Th- Thank you. Well, I'm glad you fuck with that. And um so I don't know if have you ever read As I Lay Dying, William Faulkner joint?
Don't think so. I should read more books, but
So he had, I mean, I'm not extremely literate actually, but like that is one that I picked up and fucked with. Um there's a one sentence chapter in there that's just like my mother was a fish. And
okay.
ever since I read that, like, because the whole thing is like it's different narrators and they're all um on their way to bury their mother. And like that's the only sentence in that chapter. I was like, you can just do that. And it's one that sticks with you. It's like it's not lazy because like that sentence stands out.
Yeah, it's
And
it's deliberate.
yeah, yeah. So that's like, I don't know. I wanted to implement that. I don't think Mercy is the only time I've ever done that. Um, but yeah, no, I think there's quite a bit of that. I wanted this to just bounce right along for sure.
And then Mercy, so it's Mercy set in this world where the moon has crashed into the earth, or part of it has, I gather.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then that
half the
is
moon fell down. Yep.
okay. So now was that like Majora's Mask inspired, or it's just a general sci-fi idea?
I don't know. I stole it. So we have the the Broken River group, we have our group chat and
Yeah.
everything, and we're always ripping each other off. So
Mm.
like Eddie Rathke came up with this idea of a kind of post-apocalyptic cyberpunk world where, or I don't know if his idea was cyberpunk, but I took it that way, where half the moon like crashes into the earth and shit. And he had all this other shit going on, but that was like the part that stuck out to me. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Just half of it just slides the fuck off and just like it's just a striking image to me. And I was like, I'm taking that. I'm ripping that off.
Now, were there any video games themselves that inspired or found elements of them that found their way into the sort of setting or the writing of
Oh
Mercy?
yeah, for sure. So like Cyberpunk 2077 for like a lot of the vibe of the city part. Um and like the trailer park camp that's out because a lot of it takes place, it's cyberpunk but kind of cyberpunk adjacent, and a lot of it's like what a hillbilly trailer park people look like in a cyberpunk world. And a lot of that shit came from Fallout 4, how they had, you build those little
Little settlements, yeah.
camp, yeah, so the little sanctuaries and shit. So that's where I got a lot of that inspiration. Like in my head, a lot of it kind of looked like that. People just picking up the remnants of a world left behind and trying to like rebuild on top of it. And they have all this crazy tech, but it's also kind of like end of the world, like desolate and shit.
Now, we're taking Mercy, right? We're turning it into a video game. What kind of video game do we want this to be?
So I had two ideas. You let me know what you fuck with more.
Okay.
So one, I thought of like kind of a fixed over the shoulder like Silent Hill type, or not Silent, fuck Resident Evil type, shooter. Another way I thought of was doing it kind of like top down, like Zelda Harvest Moon type style,
Okay.
where like some of the battles, like you could actually like you going around the little maps and shit
Mm-hmm.
and like interacting and everything. And then like some of the battles towards the end could actually go into like little like Pokemon style. This dude over here, like the god or whatever, and
Yeah.
you're over here with your selection of attacks.
Sort of like old school Final Fantasies almost, just like a classic
Yeah,
JRPG.
yeah.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? I like the JRPG idea. There's an old Super Nintendo game called Secret of Evermore. I don't know if you've ever played that.
Is that the one where you're so you're a child who is like you're like in the woods at some point, and it's got that I've got this image of a sword in like
So
the
you're
river or
thinking
something.
Secret of Mana.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm
Um,
thinking of.
Now Secret of Evermore is kind of related. I think it's what they released in the United States instead of releasing the sequel to Secret of Mana. But it
Gotcha.
actually was like I think it was like a guy and his dog. It had that sort of dark cyberpunky energy to it. I think it was like vaguely based on Shadowrun. I don't know if you're familiar with Shadowrun.
No, I'm a bit illiterate with video games actually. Like I
Well,
love them and will play them when I can. I play like one video game every 5
no,
years.
I got you. Well, you have two kids, right? I think I read that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like me too. And like, man, I've been trying to replay Batten Kaitos, which is a re-release of a JRPG on the GameCube, and just like trying to get through it and being like, I can't play this for 10 hours at a time like I used to, like I could in high
Yeah.
school when I wasn't doing homework. Um, So yeah, Shadowrun is actually a tabletop RPG like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's this it's almost like a cyberpunk cosmic horror Cthulhu-esque hybrid.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. I'm fucking with that. That
yeah,
sounds a lot like Mercy, actually.
yeah. It's
This
it's a lot
is
of those same elements. So yeah, Secret of Evermore. I guess if it ever gets a re-release, or if you don't mind, emulating it, something to check out. Um, so yeah, I like this top-down RPG, Final Fantasy uh, type deal, and then shifting into the battles. Because there are a few fight scenes. I use scenes loosely, but there's a few of these parts in Mercy um, where they're kind of fighting off. You have the big one with the roller coaster, and then the very end with the. I won't spoil it, but
Y yeah, yeah. Well, it's like they are like, those scenes are, like, heavily like, man, Harvest Moon came to mind because a lot of it's just walking around, the majority of the book is just walking around, and so being able to see the full map and you're just, like, moving around, this, uh, sorta 8-bit, top-down map,
yeah,
that'd be pretty tight, but then maybe it could, like, it'd be crazy to completely switch up, like, instead of going turn-based Pokemon style, you actually go into, like, this more detailed graphic,
like a
sorta action style video
3D
game.
shooter. That would be
Yeah.
interesting. We forget that video games as a medium can shift in that way. You could go to a Resident Evil action shooter, then back to like Legend of Zelda top-down pixel.
It'd be crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that.
I don't. Nothing comes to mind, but there's no reason you couldn't do it. You know what I mean? You would just need the engine to handle it. Um,
Yeah. I mean, you can do, like, when you're playing Yakuza or when you're playing, like, Cyberpunk has those little things you can walk up to and you can play the mini games. So
yeah,
you're like you go to the bar and you can play this, like, Duck Hunt looking shit. It's like the opposite of that, where that's the game looks like one of these old school games until it gets to these scenes.
that would be dope. So, do you picture this as more open-ended, where you kind of can go anywhere, or is it more linear, where you have to go through like certain events in order?
So that depends. If we're keeping to the old school Zelda thing, I think it'd be pretty linear. Um, if it was like a fixed over the shoulder type Fallout type of game, it'd be cool to do a little bit more exploring, uh, just to as an immersive experience in a sense of like, I think grounding you in the type of place this is without all the crazy side quest shit. Like without like I don't think it's one that would warrant like a whole bunch of basic fetch missions or whatever. But just having a little bit of like room to move around and see a little bit more of what the sanctuary looks like, a little bit more of like people how they're raising crops or whatever, like what are they using for electricity and shit, and just like kind of as an observing thing and less of like a making it some big massive game because it's a pretty focused story that I think is
Yeah,
uh I like the vibe of the book is having all this shit kind of at a distance, like the opposite of world. It's almost anti-world building. It's like hinting at some shit, but we're not really getting deep into it. So like the video game, it'd be cool to explore a little bit more of that, but still maintain that vibe where it feels kind of dreamlike. You're never quite grounded in the world.
right. Because yeah, the book does shift almost back and forth between like memories and then what's actually going on.
Yeah, right. Like so those and maybe like a linear story mode would be cool because you'd go into those flashbacks and you'd be able to play um a little bit more of the city, from when the dad
And before,
slash, wife, like, yeah, before you can play like as him. And then I mean shit, that's another thing too, is like I guess would you play as like the dad in this game, or would you play as the son?
That was one of my questions too, is without giving too much away, like, the main driver of the story does switch halfway through. Which I can't remember if I think The Last of Us 2 might have done that. I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also thinking of like a Kane and Lynch or Army of Two, where you could actually like choose to swap. May
Mm-hmm.
that'd be interesting to like up until a certain point where one of those characters is kind of useless. You're like you could swap back and forth and get a different experience, and then that's
Yeah.
another. Yeah, now I'm thinking, yeah, so it's like fixed over shoulder type of shooter walking around, but you can play both of these characters, and part of the replay value too, and part of like going through more of the world and everything is like you you get a slightly different experience depending on which one you're playing.
Well, so now do you allow the story of this game to change slightly depending on player actions? Like, do we write that in as a more branching narrative than necessarily the book would have been, where it's just scene to scene to scene?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so because a lot of the book is like the the burden of decision, right? So, and in the book, it's not choose your own adventure, so there is one ending, but
Right.
you embodying the character of this father character, you could go into, and I'm cool with spoiling whatever, so we can actually like, kind
Okay.
of extrapolate these ideas if you
Yeah.
want. But like, he's supposed to go and sacrifice his son to this god or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you as playing him could have more decision of like, do you straight up tell your kid that this is what's going down, but we ain't doing shit like this, and here's the plan. Do you like keep shit from him and you ready to go in guns blazing, or you just fucking sacrifice your kid? Like,
Yeah. Do you? Well, they both have to sacrifice, right? Or is
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it is both. Thank you for
okay.
clarifying my the shit that I made up.
It's
Yeah,
okay. I mean, I was just trying to make sure I understood, because yeah, do you sacrifice your son and preserve yourself? Do you sacrifice yourself to try and preserve your son? Do you believe in the religion of the community or wherever it was they were and sacrifice both of you? Or do you just reject the whole thing entirely and use the God Killer gun?
yeah, yeah. And then it's like there could be that'd be interesting to explore more of those endings too, because if the game didn't just stop right there the way the book does, like that final decision, well, if you make the decisions based on how the book goes, then that'd probably be the same outcome. But like, if you choose something else, there might be even more to that. Like, what happens next?
Well, and even little things too. So there's that it's like a girl in a wolf outfit, like a Princess Mononoke type character. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
I think she was in a wolf outfit, or at least that's how I imagined her. Um,
yeah. She was wearing a wolf head.
okay,
Uh, yeah,
she she doesn't survive that final encounter, but maybe if she does, maybe that's a different ending altogether.
that's right. That's right. The boy and the wolf woman can run off together and be wolf people out in the woods.
Instead of going back to the city with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he just like forgets that bitch. He's
I mean, stranger things have happened in real life.
we got to have that kind of like Grand Theft Auto hot coffee scene in there too,
I
because it
mean,
gets
yeah, I guess we could. Might make your indie game X-rated, but I don't know if anyone cares about that anymore, to be honest.
Probably not get well, I don't know. Gamers might be the last people who care about that. I know people don't really care for it in movies and shit, but what do you think?
I mean, I think if it's artfully done, and even if it isn't, um,
Artfully done as in like mash A to rubber titties
well, didn't
and
God of War did that, right?
it
Like in
did,
the
yeah.
PS2. So I mean, like, there's precedent for all of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, that we gotta have that now. That's my like executive producer uh has to be part of the game.
gotta be able to fuck in the game. You gotta be able to
Yeah.
control it. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, is it just the two like female characters the son has sex with, or is it just like you can have sex with anyone at any point?
Well, yeah, if you know, if you can finesse it, then that's a little bit that could be a little bit more of the options of the wandering around. It is a game, you know, you're not completely beholden to the dynamics of the book. You can,
Then,
yeah, interact with more of the characters, see where things go.
yeah.
Just I don't want to code any of the father son shit into there. I know some weirdos, you know. would-
Well, that was my next question. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's the only thing. The two leads can't have sex with each other. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line.
They
That's
they
where I draw the
can
line.
they can have sex with the random old man in the woods, but not each other.
There you go. Have at it. And be in control of that shit. Press X to go faster.
They're like a meter that builds up. Try and keep it building up too fast.
It's like a fight meter, like when you build up your special bar, you know, and then you can pull both triggers at the same time to execute X-ray mode, but you have X-ray mode in this where instead of like reaching in and grabbing their heart, it's like you're going in deeper and busting.
I mean, that would certainly be a game. Probably not the first game to do that either.
There's got to be some Japanese shit out there somewhere, or one of those
There's some
like
American shit out there. I mean, hop on Steam at some point and just look for adults only games, and you'll find some stuff.
yeah, adultsonlygames.net.
You can buy some on Steam. They're crazy. Some of them
I
are
believe it.
visual novels. Some of them are, I don't know. Some of them can get weird, but
You know, visual novel would be an interesting direction to take this too. Not
yeah,
to get not to be like non-committal to one idea, but
it's not like I'm sitting here like coding it. Oh no, shit! Now I have to code it. Like, it can be whatever you want it to be. We can change. People change.
yeah, yeah, come on, come on. I know we're like months into developing this over-the-shoulder shooter, but like what if it was a visual novel?
Well, I mean, probably we just develop a visual novel tie-in. Like, yeah, you can play the visual novel, or you can play the full game.
That'd be an interesting that might actually not be too far out of reach with this shit. Like if I was to actually somebody gave me a budget, uh me and like knowing the very, very little I know about how to even make a video game, uh I could do that. We can make that happen.
Yeah,
We could absolutely turn Mercy into a visual novel.
just have to get someone to do all the art. That's what sells the visual novel.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'd have to figure out what the fuck that the god actually looks like there at the end. Cause like,
We know he has deer. Um, we know he has deer horns.
right, and he's got these like sort of bladed looking bat wings and is big as fuck.
Yeah. So I mean, it's he. I almost picture him. Did you ever watch Adventure Time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost picture him like the Lich.
Oh, the Lich. Yeah. Yeah, he straight up does look like the Lich.
Yeah, because he's all like, it's got he has the lich has like the deer, like some cow, some type of animal skull, and like a big cloak to hide his body, and then he's made of nuclear bomb or whatever it was.
So I was, if we were going visual novel route, like I was trying to picture the art of that shit. Adventure Time style art would go pretty hard with this story because it'd have like that kind of juxtaposition of a sort of like a sort of a childlike look to it, but like all the fucked up shit.
Yeah, the more childlike art, but then the very like heavy themes. Probably a little bloodier than Adventure Time was, but Adventure Time was on
This,
Cartoon
yeah,
Network, so like, how bloody could it be?
yeah. This is the Adult Swim Adventure Time.
Did you ever watch the Samurai Jack reboot?
Yeah, that shit
Yeah,
went hard.
yeah. Well, that was like watching him like for the first time like cut someone and then like actual blood, and like I just remember being very like, oh shit. Gen
Yeah,
and that's Samurai Jack's another one of those things that has like a cyberpunky post-apocalyptic vibe to it. You wouldn't
that
necessarily
was
expect
great.
from a samurai story, but
Oh yeah, that was back when, I mean, there were so many great genre mashups back in that sort of early 2000s period where I feel like The Matrix influenced so many people that every like there were so many things that just were this thing plus a little bit of cyberpunk. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
like Samurai Jack.
yeah, you had Y2K and all the like fears of like technology and things failing all of a sudden, and clearly that got baked into a lot of our subconscious.
Yeah, yeah, where it's like end of the world, but it's also extremely accelerated technology.
Yeah, it's like there's these amazing things you can do, but then you're still scrounging for food and just trying to survive.
Yeah, that's man, we need another Fear of the Apocalypse to make some new genre like that.
Well, we did a new apocalypse. I don't know, we're pretty close with all this. Not to get too political, like seems like every different country's breaking out into war every couple months.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I guess our at the moment, like if Y2K was our cyberpunk influence at the moment, we'd have I guess some kind of like nuclear punk or something.
I mean that's basically what Fallout is, right? But
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fallout's the like 1960s, like when nuclear war was a huge possibility. It'd be interesting to see a Fallout that instead of like taking 60s inspiration took the 2000s or the 2010s.
Everything's like Monster Energy and like instead of the jazz playing in the background, it's like Limp Bizkit or
Yeah,
something.
which I guess that's just idiocracy at that point.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Idiocracy kind of predicted a whole lot of the
Yeah.
future. Weren't they wearing Crocs in that hoe? Like
Yeah,
they had
like before Crocs were a thing, because
yeah.
the Mike Judge or whoever thought it was they were the dumbest looking future shoe he could find, and no one knew what they were, and now all of a sudden everyone's wearing them.
This is crazy. You just straight up predicted the future like that.
I would play a Fallout game set in Idiocracy.
Yeah, yeah,
All
where
the
you
garbage. And, yeah,
it seems like it seems like they should have that as an Easter egg somewhere in that game. Like how you could find all those random t-shirts and shit. They gotta have that Idiocracy shirt that he
yeah,
wears somewhere.
yeah. The Fallout usually references a lot of stuff you think they would. I don't know. Maybe we'll get an Idiocracy game. We got a RoboCop game like last year.
Oh, for real? I didn't this
Yeah,
missed me.
sorry, some studio I can't remember exactly their name made a RoboCop game where you're RoboCop. Apparently, it's pretty good.
Is it
Uh,
like a linear story thing or
Um, I think it has like open world sections um going into, yeah, it's like open world sections into um sorry, let me think. It's like there's some open world like explore the city and do crime section in between like linear segments where you're just playing a chunk
right?
of the story.
I think more video games should do that. And I think they should like move you permanently across the map. Like no more fast travel or go all everywhere you want to type of shit, but just like you can move about in a certain area. But once the story progresses and like makes like you have to hop a train and go wherever, now the next place you're at, you can explore that place a little bit, but the story keeps pushing you to other places like you can never go back.
Well,
That'd be interesting.
you know what does that kind of is Dark Souls 3. I don't know if you ever played that.
I haven't played 3.
Okay. Dark
So
Souls
so it's
3, yeah,
it's
has
areas where you
these.
can't go back to.
Well, you can go back to them, but they're large open worlds, and then you kind of progress through them linearly. So that's kind
Okay.
of like part of the interesting thing. I don't know. Everyone in my chat keeps telling me I'm quiet. You can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you just
Okay.
fine,
I
yeah.
think it might
They need to,
be. I might have
tell them
you.
turn it up.
I might have you up loud, and it just sounds quiet by comparison. Let me dial you back a bit. Maybe that'll work. I gotta find a way to get the mic directly in front of me. He is a bit louder than me. Yes, I am aware of that. But I didn't want to turn him down. He's the guest. Y'all are here to hear him speak, not me.
Just say it with your chest.
Oh yeah, I have to project. I was a theater kid, so it's like I know how to do that. I just forget. Like,
What kind of theater shit did you do?
um, that is so in Baltimore. I've done a bunch of community theater stuff. The last one I did was that would have been right before my daughter was born, so that would have been like 2018, 2019, and that was and then there were none, which I think is an Agatha Christie joint.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
don't,
what's up.
yeah, but that one I was only in for like a brief minute at the beginning. It was just like a one-off bit part. But that was fine. It's just I just like doing the theater, so I was like, all right, if that's the part, few scenes in the beginning, and then I get to hang around and do nothing for the rest of the show until the end.
Hell yeah. That's who I'd wanna be if, like and, like, getting into, uh, a little bit more film shit, which is actually, like I'm getting into a lot more film shit career-wise after this, but, the a lot of people have asked, like, "So have you written a character for yourself in this or whatever?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't wanna really be in front of the camera so much."
Yeah,
But a little just fun, like, pop in as the weird junkie
yeah,
in
your
for
Stan Lee
5 minutes or
cameo.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But,
Yeah,
like, you ever see Agitator, the movie Agitator, that, Takashi Miike joint?
I have not. I know that's the name of your podcast with
Yeah, yeah,
the
with
other
J. David
J.
Osborne.
David Osborne. That's his name. I was like, is it Grant or
Yeah,
J. David? And I couldn't remember.
it's one of them. You know? Yeah, Grantley's, the homie too. Um But Mike in that movie, he has, this role as just this, like, bleached blonde psychopath who shows up to this karaoke bar and shoves a microphone up a girl's ass, and, like, that's
Jesus.
that's his that's his role in the movie, is he's the psycho who shows up at one point.
Well, so is that what you want to be? You want to be the psycho that shows up in your own work?
Yeah, 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 and just like shoves a microphone up someone's ass or something.
one of the uh one of the roller coaster zombies or whatever. They were like hillbillies or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. One of the moon drinkers.
Oh yeah. Moonshiners. That's what they are.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very kind of on the nose metaphor for
Yeah.
moonshine. You know.
Is there
It's-
is there a drink in this setting called moonshine that's just radioactive moon water?
Probably. I mean, they just bottle that shit instead of It starts off they drink the water just out of ignorance, and it's like, oh shit, I didn't know this was bad for you, and then you know they're like, well, this is society now, I guess. Let's bottle this shit up and sell it.
That would be that would be interesting. Because I one of the thing elements I did like too that I thought would be an interesting video game is this forest with cables running through it.
Hmm.
That's the setting. So that like talk a little bit about that. That's like a forest that's grown over an existing city or just like an old highway or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like as if so this is kind of like quite a bit into the future, I get like to the point where there is this massive cyberpunk like city or nation, whatever, and there's also this cataclysmic event and the forest that's kind of started overtaking, like reclaiming shit. So it's like way out there in that there was all this like massive like everything used to be how the cyberpunk city is, and now sort of nature is reclaiming shit, but it's kind of like a poison to nature. And so you've got like things that aren't as friendly to humans. In a way it's like uh prehistoric, while simultaneously having like a technocratic city like right next to it, like just right outside the hills. And the cables like vines going through the trees. Just another one of those images I thought went so hard. And it's something that like I mean, yeah, you got, nature swallowing up all this city and shit. So you've got like cars that were long abandoned, blown out, and whatever that are like at the base of these new trees and shit. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the choices in the book were also just like, damn, that looked cool.
excuse me. Just clearing my throat a little. Mm.
Let me clear my throat.
Da-na-na-na-na. That's an old one. So what that's a good segue. What does the soundtrack to this game look like? Do we have a radio like Fallout? Do we have more of like an ambient soundtrack? Do we have a mix of both?
So there is reference to when they're in the city, you know, the rookie character, the character who's like supposed to be shadowing the father since he's chosen to sacrifice. And so this rookie guy, he's supposed to be taking his place as kind of the fetch guy who goes into the city and gets goods and brings them back to the hill village. Um he's hanging out in the truck fucking around with the radio, and there's like he switches it to a gore wave station, which I just imagine being like kind of like vaporwave synth music, but like crunchier, more like Mick Gordon type, instrumental shit, like Doom soundtrack. I think it'd have a very like Doom sounding soundtrack. Uh, but a radio, like, cause when they get off into the city and they find like ancient relics like CDs and
Mm-hmm.
like shit that we would be familiar with but is like way outdated to them. Um if there was some little shit that worked, like if you could find a an old style busted radio somewhere and you could like tweak that shit to work and then start tuning to different or throwing in different CDs or something. Or maybe
Okay.
little MP3, like maybe you find flash drives or something, and you can
Oh.
that can be a that can
Old,
be an optional side quest of the
old
game.
iPods.
Old iPods, yeah, yeah. So then you get like that's just like a little Easter egg of the game, like an optional little thing. If you find these, then you can have totally different music experience through the game. You could be listening to like Charlie XCX while you're in the final battle.
Would these would these have any gameplay bearing? Would they almost be like in old N64 games, you would find cheats?
Ooh, so like, yeah, maybe it could like boost your morale or your health. So like if you find one with a bubbly pop playlist on it, that might like boost your energy, your stamina stats. Or if you find one with like a doom black metal playlist, it might like drain your stamina but like boost your strength where you can just like go beast mode, but you have less endurance.
Yeah.
Uh That'd be interesting. So like your stats are actually affected by it. Like there's no way now I'm thinking it's actually like a main portion of the game instead of like an optional little side thing where you want to go and seek out these old ass MP3 players to and whichever one you get is kind of luck of the draw. Or if you can find them all, you can like, shuffle through which one you actually use. And that's the only way to affect your stats. Like instead of having a a stat tree where you can like go in and level up this and level up that. It's all based on the music you're listening to in the game.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of those things where um, it would incentivize a player to wander out and grab different things instead of just following the path straight to the end.
Yeah, yeah. And man, that'd be interesting like gameplay wise too, because instead of just doing what uh I don't know, going with that whole creative character. This is my ideal character or whatever. It's like you're kind of forced to like if you want a certain type of build, you have to listen to this type of music while playing the game. It's like, man,
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to two live crew while, you know, uh go fighting these roller coaster zombies.
But you do if you want the buff.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Or Bob Marley if you want the like kind of mana healing powers.
I mean, do you have mana and powers in this video game adaptation?
Or what whatever version of that, the regeneration stat,
Gotcha.
how quickly does your health bounce back?
Okay, so the more relaxing music heals you faster, and the more aggressive
Yeah,
music makes
yeah.
you hit harder. And then you're just switching, you're like, oh, there's no enemies. Let me listen to something calm. And now it's like, oh shit, there's a fight. Let me throw on the Black Sabbath or whatever.
There you go. There you go. You go from Buffalo Soldier to Crazy Train and
I don't. I wonder if there's a game that's ever done that. I can't imagine. I can't think of one.
I don't think so, and I think this would it would make me happy, and I'd be like, "This is the craziest shit ever," but it'd probably be a very hated game. I can imagine a lot of people being like, "It won't let me play the way I want to."
Well, it'd be divisive, but it'd be like, no, you can play the way you want to. You just gotta listen to the stuff.
Yeah,
It would
yeah,
be
yeah.
it would be a fine balance. Um, but I think in a cyberpunky setting, that would be an interesting alternative to just the usual. Oh, I plugged the module into my arm, and now my arm is stronger.
It'd also be okay, so giving people a little bit of what they want too. If you find these iPods, you can put your own shit on an iPod. So what if like through your system, like on your PS5 or whatever, you can put songs you have on there onto the iPod, and then there's like coding in the game that reads the like audio waves to kind of pick up on what kind of vibe it's carrying or whatever. And so
Yeah,
then you could maybe you make your own mix, right? So like and maybe having the right mix of a playlist gets you sort of the perfect build.
yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, that wouldn't be too hard to do. You just have to read like beats per minute and different audio levels. Um,
Yeah.
I wonder if you could integrate it with something like Spotify and do um like more of a, sorry, there's like a spammer in my chat real quick. How do I,
Get them out of here.
there we go. Banned. All right. Yeah, they show up and they're like, "Oh, I mean, you could buy followers," and I'm like, "I don't want to do that. I have two people watching me right now, and I'm happy with that. One of them's you, I think.
Does that count?
I mean, if you have the window open, it counts. But I have two people in the chat who are talking to me, so yeah,
There you go.
Fernando's
What's up,
here. That's all that
everybody?
matters.
Fernando.
Yeah, no one
What's
showed
good,
up
Fernando?
live. No one showed up live for David's episode, so
Already beating out his
yeah,
audience.
there you go.
You gotta keep him humble because he's been on a tear lately. He's blowing up. I don't want him to get too ahead of himself.
All right, we'll keep that in mind. All right, I'll have to lower David's self esteem a little next time I see him. I guess if I see him again. Not that I don't want to
Oh
see him. I
damn!
just like,
Just like that.
well, we haven't seen each other in person in a while because we just don't work in the same store. And it's like we talk through Teams and now through the Twitters, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, so I knew about you for a while because David uh would constantly be sending those little work memes that you'd always be whipping up.
it keeps me
So
sane.
yeah, and then he'd have to be explaining the context of it and everything, like, and that shit is just so funny.
I'm gonna have to edit some. When I edit this, I'll have to put some of those in there.
There you go. Yeah, show some people some of the memes.
Yeah. I have to find the ones that don't give away like what place I work for and where I live.
Yeah, just dox yourself.
You know? It's like when David calls me Alan. I'm like, I'm Surge Trigger, yo. That's my cool internet
Yeah,
name.
what you doing? Surge trigger. How'd you come up with that?
That's a good question. So, this is a reference to two games, Chrono Trigger and its sequel, Chrono Cross. And the main character of the sequel, Chrono Cross, that character's name is Surge. And so Surge Trigger just came Surge, and then Trigger like Chrono Trigger.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Chrono Trigger slaps. I fuck with Chrono
One
Trigger.
of one of my all time favorites. Chrono Cross, it's probably my favorite game um, of all time.
I think I completely missed that one too. Like I never even I Chrono Trigger was like huge for me as a kid, but I never even heard of Chrono Cross.
Yeah, Chrono Cross was the sequel. It came out for the PlayStation One, and it can be the story itself is a little dense. Um, and it was such a big departure from some of the elements from Chrono Trigger that some people are like, "Well, it's not a Chrono game," and I'm like, "But it is," and It's hard to explain without getting into like a whole 4 hour video essay about it, but the stories are interlinked and they tell very different styles of story, but like the events that happen in Chrono Trigger are important to understanding what's going on in Chrono Cross. Um,
Right,
and
right.
Chrono Cross got a re-release a few years ago too, so you can get that on modern systems now, which is great.
I'm gonna have to check that shit out.
Yeah, which the re-release also has the so there was a text adventure sequel to Chrono Trigger that originally only came out in Japan for something called the Satellaview, which was a satellite add-on for the Super Nintendo that would download games via satellite service. It's a wild thing to exist here, like this text adventure Chrono Trigger sequel, but like it's in the re-release, and it's like, wow, this is a cool thing to play. Definitely play that too if you get a chance.
Oh yeah. Now, what if so since Mercy is like a straightforward story, like a pretty short story, what if there was like the ability to play it in all these different ways?
Are you thinking like how Chrono Trigger does the new game plus, and you can get the different endings if you
Yeah.
just go kill the final boss earlier?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So like there's a way to hack it to like there's a way to new game plus it into being like a visual novel or vice versa. It's like it's just a visual novel and if you get to this particular ending, all of a sudden it like resets and you can play it as like this crazy hyper detailed semi open world like uh
That is an interesting idea. Um, that sounds like a bitch to code.
it yeah like
You're because
I
you're
can
basically
I can
just.
imagine me in the gaming world I'd be like notorious. People would be like this motherfucker like
I mean, everyone loves Hideo Kojima, and he's done some crazy stuff.
he has done some really
You
crazy
know.
shit. That's actually a huge influence of mine. Not in the way that I'm trying to design this insane ass video game, but just as an artist in general. Like Kojima's one of the goats.
Mm-hmm. It sucks we'll never get to play his Silent Hill game.
No, that one. But I feel like he's kind of the type where you hear that he had this idea or he was supposed to be doing this, and then you can kind of see how remnants of what he would have done will make its way into like Death Stranding 2 or something.
Yeah. Well, I think they're making a Death Stranding TV show, movie. I can't
I,
remember.
one, yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
It'd be hilarious if like none of those people are in it.
Yeah. But yeah, the idea of a video game that's I programmed 4 different video games or I designed 4 different video games. Depending on how you play determines which one you get to play.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because there's also there's the head trips, in the
Mm.
game, which is like kind of this basically this like super advanced virtual reality kind of thing where like if you like that could be implemented somehow where you could get one of these head trips and upload it into your into your hard drive noggin or whatever
What if
and
maybe we take it a step further, right? Every ending ends with your character taking off the head trip and then starting over at the beginning of the game. And it's like no matter how many times you beat it, you're like, "Oh my god, when is it actually real? Is it just virtual reality nestled?" And that's why it keeps changing.
it's just head trips all the way
Yeah.
down.
You don't know
It's
you're
like
in a
this
head trip.
yeah, this Groundhog Day, but it looks different every time.
Oh man. Groundhog Day. That's a movie that's more video game like than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah, because he's just respawning over and
Yeah,
over.
and it reminds me a lot of Dark Souls every time I watch it, because Dark Souls is about endlessly respawning and trying to figure out how to get to a point where you don't have to, where you can actually move forward.
Right. Nah, bro, 100%. You just broke it down for people. That I never thought of it that way, but Groundhog Day is basically Dark Souls the movie.
It's the Dark Souls of Bill Murray movies, certainly.
Yeah, if you fuck with Dark Souls, you need to check out Groundhog Day,
Stay.
starring Bill Murray.
Such a weird, such a weird connection, but that's the one that forms in my head every time I watch it.
It makes total sense too, because that's exactly what he's doing. And then like how when you're playing Dark Souls, it's not like my 4-year-old son, he likes to cheer me on playing video games, and then he'll be like, if I die, he'll be like, "Oh man!" And of course, in Dark Souls, it's constant. It's like die, 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 die. And so he's like, "You died again?" I'm like, "Look, this is how this game is played. Like you kind of have to go in there and see what like you got to feel it out, knowing that you're gonna die a million times until you get it, what you're supposed to do." And Groundhog Day is like that too. There's that whole montage of him like,
Killed himself,
just
basically.
just killing yeah, just killing himself over and over. And yeah, no, there's not a more Dark Souls movie besides Groundhog Day.
Mhm. And that's one of the things I really like about Dark Souls, is that it uses the video game elements to do its storytelling. One of the things
Yeah.
that makes video games unique is that it puts you in control. You are the one doing the thing. And in the world of Dark Souls, people die, and they die over and over so many times that they go insane, and that's all the enemies you run into. And so when you finally like get frustrated and give up, that's your character going hollow and becoming one of these insane things. And so you have to
Yeah.
like keep a goal in mind and persevere if you want to overcome it.
Yeah, how do you not go crazy? You just don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
It's so I get like in a way, the Berserk manga is also a bit Dark Soulsy.
Well, that definitely, since there's a berserk sword in every uh Dark Souls game path.
In every dark yeah. That's my I need to weigh up my well, no, I'm almost there with my strength and dexterity and Elden Ring to be able to wield that bitch.
Oh,
But
the gut sword, the great sword.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Have
you
you beat did you beat Elden Ring?
nah, no. So I my relationship with Elden Ring is weird because I got it day one and was playing it, streaming it. So with Souls like games, I can only play them while streaming. I don't know why. Like it's just a weird personal thing. It's just like every minute I've ever played of these games has been like broadcast to the internet while I'm doing it. So there's it's like that's what I have to do.
You're just
Um
like a glutton for punishment. Not only do you want to die a million times, you want everybody to see it.
Part of it, and it attracts people to watch me, which I mean that's the whole point of streaming. I want people to show up and watch and experience with me. And people love
Yeah,
to
yeah.
tell you like, oh no, you gotta go over here, or like, yo man, keep going, or even just like, whoa man, why did it take you 5 days to beat Smo and Ornstein? And I'll be like, because there's two of them and I get distracted too
There's 2
easily.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's a difficult part. Like, what do you mean? Why'd it take 5 days?
But with Elden Ring, so like that the same year it came out, my son was born. So it came out in January, and then my son was born in October. And then I basically didn't play for like a year straight because I had no time to stream anymore. I had two kids, and um my my daughter has autism, so like she's needs a lot of attention more than like a regular 4-year-old, 5-year-old might. Um
Right. Yeah, yeah.
so we're just handling that. Although she's been funny because we watched Gunbuster together. which is an old OVA, and then now
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
she's been asking for Star Trek lately, so we'll just watch Next Generation reruns on like Pluto or some shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I never I never got into Star Trek.
I mean, it's all right. It's something to put on that I'm like, whatever. I've seen every episode of TNG like so many times now that it's like, you want to watch it? Sure.
I I I like that type of shit. They should try and figure out how to make the video game version of that of like background noise TV. Like something that I feel like there's some Steam games getting close because like there was a game I heard about recently that looked beautiful. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was like a Russian developer, and it was like you do like nothing. Like there's absolutely nothing to do in the game. You just walk around this like small town, this small snowy town.
There's a lot of the walking simulators. I think when I think what's the video game equivalent of background TV, I think something like The Sims, where you can let it play and stuff will
Yeah,
happen, and then you can input to make things happen when you need to.
yeah, and then you can go in and just clean it all up and change
Yeah,
it and fuck it up and
drown people in the pool by taking all the ladders out. Whatever sadistic thing we as a society has decided to do.
that's the most sadistic game. That's The Sims has to be the opposite of Dark Souls. Dark Souls is like for masochists and The Sims is for sadists.
Well, now we need a game that brings these people together.
Yeah,
We need
a
a
Dark Souls simulator.
where one person's the masochist and you're playing through like a Dark Souls game, and the other person's playing it like The Sims, and they're just trying to torture you.
And like you can go crazy sadist on your, Sim City, but there's some kind of like punishment system in place for like when like you have you have like simulated people who have like how we kind of have ancestral memory where it's like you just feel it in your bones a certain way if your parents or not your parents but like whatever if you're like children of immigrants who had like a rough time getting over here or something or like whatever you have some kind of like personality coded like memory if like your sims could kind of have that kind of thing where like you could wipe out all your civilizations but then like the next civilization that rises up might be like come at you with the god killer or something.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess that's another element to this, right? Do you let other players play as this god in the final boss battle?
Yeah, multiplayer mode. You like Left 4 Dead style where people are split up into the zombies and the survivors. You've got uh you could be like the village people, like the hillbillies and the moon drinkers, and then the moon drinker doing the best at killing the hillbillies could like have the opportunity to go god mode.
Or just grow
That'd be
horns and bat
and
wings, and
yeah, grow horns and bat wings and then shapeshift. Because you can do the shapeshifting thing too.
I feel like that's the part of the game everyone would want to play more.
That actually now that's the part I want to jump in on.
Did you ever get into invading in Dark Souls? It's kind of like that.
Not because I have like really shitty internet. I've not even like I've fucked with it just a little bit on the PlayStation, but like it's so annoying just because of my internet and shit. But I've been invaded several times. Shit sucks. It makes me so mad when
You gotta get a nice invader. So like usually around Christmas time, for a while in Dark Souls 3 I was invading people and just using prism stones to decorate like they were Christmas lights. And like you'd get people who'd just be like, "Oh my god, invader," and they'd freak out and attack me, and I'd either kill them or they'd kill me. But then you get people who would stop, and if they didn't attack me, I just would like not attack them, and they'd be like, "What is going on?" And some people they'd realize what was happening, and they'd get so excited, like, "Oh my god, this guy just came in and threw prism stones down and then left."
That's hilarious. You're like Santa Claus. You're just popping in
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, that was fun
How can he be in all these places at once?
because he's just a Dark Souls invader. He just pops up as soon as you go to sleep.
It's like if you're good, you get the prism stones, and if you're bad, I'm,
Get
I'm gonna summon the ghost
dung
wolves.
pies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Dung
is
pies in your stocking.
so. Let's see. Let me look at my list of questions here. Is there anything that maybe you wanted to include in the book but didn't for one reason or the other that you might include in the video game version of Mercy?
Hmm. Um. Well, so I wrote the book in like 3 days. Uh. So there wasn't a whole lot of room to have shit that I left out. Uh. Probably just some a little bit more of everything. Like have some more. So I think it'd be a fun, like, semi-open world where there's plenty of shit to observe, but not a whole lot to engage with necessarily. Where like it's like, so what do those sanctuary sermons actually look like? Because he walks in, like the father walks in on the cyborg preacher man like practicing a sermon, but one of them is never actually shown. So it's like, what do these people's like religious practice actually look like? Uh, More of the like digging, like the well digging and shit. Um, that'd be pretty cool, and that could have consequences too, where it's like I'm gonna mess around with this little mini game of like digging wells and shit. You could end up like the boy and lose your arm.
Oh yeah, he does lose his arm.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then you gotta get some janky ass hillbilly cyborg arm or something.
Like Adventure Time. 'Cause Finn loses
Exactly.
his
Like
arm like at some point.
you, you know what? Adventure Time was probably very much a subconscious influence on this because the Lich King, the like Iron Arm, the like sort of demigod, uh this chaotic demiurge that you have to fight at the end. I think I think some version of this game, out of the many versions that you have to play through, one of them has to have an ode to Adventure Time
Just
because
be super
I'm thinking
cartoony.
that yeah, yeah. I'm thinking that was definitely a major subconscious influence. I never thought about it before, but after referencing that so many times now, it definitely
You know?
played a part.
I mean that's how it is. You know, you watch stuff, you consume it, it makes an impact, and then the stuff you create like reflects that.
Yeah, yeah. I man, what was it? Simmons just today said fuck, I can't remember. But it was kind of one of those things. I was like, "Oh, that sounds like this thing." He goes, "Oh shit. I wonder if that's what influenced me." I didn't know it. I don't remember what it was. I always pretend it was something stupid
It
like
doesn't
uh
matter.
Zoolander. He was heavily Ghost of East Baltimore was inspired by Zoolander.
Go there. You heard it here first. Ghosts of East Baltimore is actually Zoolander fan fiction in disguise.
That's what it was.
Oh man, David's gonna be mad when he hears that.
Nah, he's gonna enjoy it. He's gonna remember what I was trying to say and be like, "No, no, it was something much cooler than that."
Well, that's so now I can think of now I'm thinking about is Ben Stiller because have you ever seen the movie Heavyweights?
Yes.
And have you seen Dodgeball?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those movies are secretly part of like a sequel scenario.
I can see that.
It's
Like that character in Heavyweights is like
the same
pretty
character in
much the same
Dodgeball,
dude. Yeah,
which apparently
exactly.
is all based on um I guess some type of impression character that Ben Stiller did on like Saturday Night Live or something. I was reading the interviews for it. I just remember was like we need more unhinged psychopath Ben Stiller.
Yeah, that Saturday Night Live used to be such a good model for like exactly that. Like comedians kind of sketching out their like these different character types, and then you get movies that were less straight adaptations of like this little sketch comedy and more like them doing that character, like Dodgeball, Heavyweights type shit.
Yeah. Dodgeball's one of my favorite movies, but that's because I remember seeing it in theaters with my older brother, and it left an impact.
I miss those stupid comedies so much. Like I really took them for granted when they were coming out left and right. To where wherever we're at now, we're like, I ain't seen a funny movie in years.
Well, maybe you can write one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get funny. I won't be able to resist being like real fucked up, but
You know, I
I'll
mean
have to.
that's where humor trends nowadays.
It's, I mean, does it? What's the last funny thing you saw?
The last funny thing I saw, I'm gonna say Schitt's Creek, which that was a TV show,
Okay.
but that had the whole scene where our billboard sign looks like it's like they're fucking each other, and he's like, what? No, that's his sister. So he paints it's okay, it's his sister on the sign. So then the sign just looks like their town is a guy fucking his own sister.
You know, soon as you brought up TV, actually, that's a good point because I have seen a lot of funny. It has been a minute since I've seen any funny movies, but I just watched Righteous Gemstones recently and This Fool. I don't know if you've seen either of those.
Can't say I have.
The fucking hysterical. Righteous Gemstones is like this mega church family that's like it's actually really well written and like they have a lot of sympathetic qualities and everything, and you can kind of end up like I ended up really rooting for this family pretty hard, but they're like a very fucked up southern uh dysfunctional mega church family um with like a lot of skeletons in the closet and a uh like this nerdy sort of punk rock middle-aged dude who runs a what do you call it? It's called Hugs Not Thugs in the show. So it's like a reprogram it like a not rehabilitation, but like for dudes who get out of prison, like a transition
Okay.
program,
Like a
right?
halfway house.
Like a halfway house type of thing. They like take recently released convicts and they bake cookies and shit and his cousin gets out and lives with them and gets enrolled into the program, and it's like it's funny as shit.
What streaming service is that on? That still feels weird to say.
That's on Hulu.
On Hulu. Okay. I have Hulu. I'll have to watch that.
And I know that does sound weird. Like when I keep like I'm talking about, I'm making this series that I'm calling it a TV pilot or whatever, just because I don't really know what to say. Like, it's like what
Because it's just gonna be a streaming mini series. We don't write.
yeah,
We don't.
it's like what do you? It's
We
not going to be a network thing. Yeah,
Yeah. We don't write shows to continue indefinitely episodically. We write them with a beginning, middle, and end.
which is it's a cool model. It just needs some kind of a easier way to talk about because channel makes more like it's like, oh, what channel is that on?
Yeah. Oh, what network is that on? Who plays
Netflix.
that? Oh, it's
Yeah.
on ABC at 9 p.m. It's like, oh, where do I watch that? And that might change. you know, it'll hit Hulu and then it'll leave Hulu and go to Paramount or whatever.
Oh man, that shit drives me crazy. They like force me to subscribe to everything because my kids like, where did Mario go? I don't know.
Well, that's why I just went back to pirating. It's like
That's the way to do it.
if you're not gonna put it on the streaming service I already have, then I'm not gonna pay for it.
Just put like a Pirate Bay app on the smart TV.
Well, I just use Plex.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have all my stuff saved. I guess I shouldn't be admitting to a crime live on Twitch, but I have all my stuff saved.
That is not a victimless offense.
Oh yeah, no.
You're you remember those you wouldn't steal a car. So
You wouldn't download a car. It's like, yeah, I would. Are you kidding?
if I could download a car, that
If I could
I'd have
download a
20
car
of
for
those in my
free
driveway.
at any moment and then drive it around with minimal consequences, I would definitely do that.
People are like, "You for real went out and bought one of them Tesla trucks?" It's like, "Nah, I pirated this shit. I just wanted to, I just wanted to see. I just wanted to try
Pirated
it
a
out."
Tesla truck. Oh man. Do people do that in the setting of Mercy? Is that part of the world now?
I think so. Yeah, you can you can hack reality, and that just plays more into the question of like what's real. When do I get out of this virtual reality? When you can like do shit like hack a truck. You can just pirate and download a vehicle to drive around.
When do I get the ending that's not me taking off the what did you call them? The virtual realities,
The head trip
the head
set.
trips.
Yeah. That'll be the Zelda world. The top down map view, and then it's just like at the end, they're just jumping up and down. You won, you won.
You win. Or it's just a spooky image. I guess you said you didn't care if we spoiled it, so because
Yeah, 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 yeah.
the kid shoots the god at the end, and then he becomes the god, or it's like jarring, but also like not jarring. Or did I misread that ending?
Yeah, yeah, no, he's like he's the new god now after killing God.
Yeah,
Uh in the whole world because the god is so huge and the god killer is so insane. It's this fucking insane weapon. Uh this stream of blood and guts flows over the whole and floods an entire district of the city, just wrecks the whole side of the mountain and uh yeah, now the city is flooded with blood and the sun is floating around in it and just yeah, kind of catching his breath after all that as
that's
as the new god.
that's the new ending. It's just you flying away as the new god.
Yep. Yep. That's
Congratulations, you
it.
did all the head trips. This one was for real.
You're floating in the blood and you're waiting to take the head trip off again and be like, and what happens next? It's like that's you just keep floating. Just for if you don't shut it off, it like goes on for hours. You're
So,
just floating around.
so does the game switch styles and genres now every time you die? Like whether you get to the end and kill the god in the version or not?
Oh, that'd be interesting motive to die and not to, depending. If you're like, God damn it, I was enjoying playing the like Resident Evil version, and then it's like adventure time. You died. Now it's this.
Top down with just the little pew pew gun, almost like Space Invaders.
There's like a version of it that's like Pong. It's like just
It's like black and
shapes.
white and just very abstract. Yeah, people would
It's like
love
where
that
am I?
game, and then people would also love to hate that game.
It'd be more a conversation, like it'd be sort of performance in that it's so ridiculous. You know, the main fun you get out of this game is talking about how ridiculous it is.
It's one of those games you don't tell your friend anything about it, and then hand him the controller and say, "Here, play this right now." And then you watch him
Yeah,
like, "What is going on?"
it's like what, like is it Eternal Darkness or is it, or am I getting that?
No, that's you're kind of thinking that. That's the one that fucks with you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Where it's like that. It wasn't so much the game itself, or it wasn't the game itself that we'd be talking about when talking about that game. We'd be
Mm.
talking about how like, man, it was fucking with my volume and shit, and then like it was it made it seem like it turned itself off, and then it didn't,
Well,
and
you know what's even crazier about that is now, like with the prevalence of HDMI, like your Switch can turn your TV off. You can set it up to do that. So like you could make a game that actually started lowering your volume or turning your
yeah,
TV off and making you turn it back on, or just like turning on another, or like switching which controller it was connected to, or like
for sure when you're getting into the woods and like the god is kind of waking up, because I feel like in the game the awakening of the god should kind of have this uh you sort of feel it through the game, like you're getting close, like you feel the anxiety of the character that you're playing through these little tech hacks, right? Like with the game starts fucking with you to let you know like you're closer to this shit happening.
that's there's a visual novel that does that actually. It's called Doki Doki Literature Club.
I played it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never played it because I already know like what happens, so I was like, well, it's not going to be as shocking.
Yeah, that's kind of it. It's man, yeah, I do want to make this game something like that that makes people go, "Why?" Like I'm not really enjoying this, because I was thinking that while playing Doki Doki Literature Club. I was like several people told me to play it, and then I had to play it because we were doing an agitator episode of it, and I was like, "Why? This is stupid." And then but then you get to the twist and you're like, it is extremely impactful when you get to that, you're like, "Holy shit."
Undertale's another game that kind of does that too.
I know the title of that. Which one's Undertale?
Undertale, it's kind of an Earthbound looking game. Um, it's a JRPG. I both like it and don't like it. Um, but I played it, but it did a thing too where it like shut the game, closed the game out at the end to fuck with you, and I had to reopen it, and then I was just like, this is dumb. Like, just let me play the game. um, Its whole thing is it's makes it look like a JRPG, but then the challenge is to not kill things. But to do that, you have these bullet time, not bullet time, like bullet hell events where you're just trying to dodge getting hit by things, kind of like asteroids or Space Invaders.
Oh shit. Okay. Okay.
It's a weird game. It's very interesting. It's well made. It's also just not my particular cup of tea.
I feel like we're definitely in a era where video games there's so many different things that games can do now that we should be in that time of love it or hate it video games.
Yeah.
Or like, we've I feel like for the most part, for most of my life at least, it's like you can find a game that you fuck with. You might fuck with this genre of game and you don't really like, some people are into JRPGs, some people are into first person shooters, and they pretty much if you pick up one of those, you'll enjoy it to some extent. But I feel like where video games are at now, just how sophisticated they are, how crazy the coding can get. Um there should be more like love it or hate it type games. That's like, oh, they went all in on this thing, and it's
Yeah.
like if you're either gonna fuck with it or you're gonna be
Yeah.
really pissed off.
Well, and especially what like a small team of people can make with like a limited budget nowadays. Whereas before it used to just be studios that could make video games. Now it's like any old asshole can learn to code in Unity or Unreal or whatever and make something.
Yeah, yeah. I know people who have fucked around in Unreal and come like mixed used AI shit to come up with artwork to implement into Unreal Engine and make little um mostly like visual novel type shit,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, no, I mean, obviously Steam is full of independent games
Yeah.
made on like nothing. What is a low budget? Like, so if you have the knowledge, I know nothing about making video games. So like if you have the like knowledge of how to code this and that, and then just the right software, like what all do you need? Where does a budget for a low budget video game,
Well,
where does that go?
I mean, usually you have to pay the license to like the game engine, which is going to be Unity or um, Unreal Engine or something, something else entirely, RPG Maker even. Um, and like you have to have artwork and then music for it and then writing it. And sometimes it is just time. Um, but you need money if you're going to spend time doing that instead of like doing a job, you know what I mean?
Right. So, okay, yeah. So it's basically the labor part. It's
Yeah.
just like, do you have the ability to commit to this
Yeah.
thing and get a team to do like whatever size
Yeah,
team
you got to
to make
pay,
this happen?
for your game like we'd have to pay people to do the art for and like different types of art. We would either we would code it ourselves or we would have to pay someone to code. Um we'd have to pay either for rights to the music we're using or pay like someone to compose different music.
Yeah.
If we
Or we
wanted
could just pirate it.
not if we wanted to sell it. If we sold the game with those tracks in it, like we would need a lot of money or have to go to jail. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
if we wanted voice
Oh,
acting in it, we'd have to pay voice actors. Like,
we could Shinya Tsukamoto it and just not pay anybody. Just be like demand crunch time on shit and
I mean, we
when
could.
they're
I
like,
don't
"How
know how
much are
well
we
that
getting
would go.
paid?" It's like nothing. You're getting paid nothing.
This is a labor
Like,
of love.
yeah.
Like, not for me, it
Like
isn't.
I'm not loving it. I hate you.
Oh god.
I'm starving. You're just like, this is good. This energy is gonna come
Right.
out in the final product.
But that's like, could you imagine if someone was like, "No, you're building my cabinets for free," like for my
Yeah,
my
yeah, it's like no.
my angry gothic kitchen? You'd be like, "No, I don't care."
Yeah. Nah. Yeah, I love those crazy psychos like Shinya Tsukamoto who but I believe him. I do believe in paying people.
Yeah, you would have to um, somehow. That's what I've considered doing since I've always wanted to be a voice actor. But like, I don't want to move to California. I was like, maybe I'll just go on Fiverr, say, hey, pay me $5, and I'll record some lines for your whatever your little project is.
There's some lions.
It's
Oh, some
fine.
lions. I heard you. I thought you said lions. Like that's what you want to be?
Oh
A
yeah, no,
lion?
just exclusively lion recordings. Like I got a whole roar worked out. No,
It's my niche. You need a lion? I got you.
I mean,
Commercials, video games, anime, whatever. If it needs a lion, I'm your
it's got a
dude.
lion in it. What a wild specialization that would be.
And you have to search lion. Like you don't have good keywords or use any advertising. So like people have to be looking for the lion guy and they're like, "Oh, this is the guy. I found him."
Like he says he does lions, and
Y'all thought I was crazy trying to search for a lion guy. I found him. He's here.
oh man, maybe I'll save that for when Chronicles of Narnia enters public domain and everyone's trying to make Aslan ripoffs.
There you go. How far away is that?
Fuck if I know, man.
What was that like uh
Well,
40s?
maybe who wrote that? Was that C.S. Lewis or
Yeah, C.S. Lewis. Probably not the 40s. He ain't that old, is he?
yeah? Hold on. Let me use the magic of the internet here.
The stream is sponsored by Google.
Let's see. The first one was published in 1950.
Okay, so we got like a little less than 30 years.
Yeah. C.S. Lewis died in 1963. I don't remember if the creator's death affects that or not.
Oh yeah, it has something to do with it. So maybe it's yeah, I don't know the law. I'm trying to
Let's
put pirated music into my video game. I don't know what
clearly. I mean, you probably all that would happen is it would get taken down. You wouldn't be able to sell it to anyone.
yeah, just kind of like some cease and desist type shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
we tried.
If it was popular enough, maybe they would get the rights to it. I don't know. You'd have to talk to the
The-
artists, maybe.
yeah, yeah, that that's kind of what that's where a lot of the budget of the show uh, well, there's so many like obviously I'm right next door to Houston, so like there's so much local music down here. There's like a main part of the show, like to me, like one of the important parts is all the local music, but I'm getting like underground people like kind of putting them on at least with the pilot, and then I'll still be putting people on like throwing in like underground people I fuck with like throughout the show. Um Regardless of like what the type of funding and shit is once we develop the whole series, but uh just looking into music licensing, like having like kind of a dream, like if I could put in a Slim Thug track here and Paul Wall and like a Zero track here and like that shit racks up so fucking fast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everyone wants their money. Oop.
Yeah, yeah. Oop. I just went dark.
Oh, okay. I was like, you disappeared. Oh, you're not blue anymore.
Yeah. My blue light ran out.
Oh no. Did it run
Oh
out
well.
of? How did that happen?
Ran out of charge. I got these little I don't know what you call them, like
Uh,
sort of a portable
little LEDs. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Ah, I thought you were blue this whole time. I was like, wow, Texas is. I've never been to Texas, so I was like, maybe it's just blue like that all the time.
Yeah, we're just blue people down here.
You know, it's where the Blue Man Group came from, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why everything set in Texas is graded orange. It's to like offset how blue everything is naturally.
That's that's right. Yeah,
Uh,
to make us look like normal people, because naturally we're just blue.
maybe that's one of the modes in our Mercy game here. Is everything's blue.
The blue people,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, now it's in Texas and blue.
This is one of the first books I didn't set in Texas because I mean, it's kind of just set in Blade Runner City or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. It is kind of nondescript, or it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't give a specific place. Um, I guess there's lots of trees, so it's like, where would there be a forest?
Like Virginia or
West
something.
Virginia, something.
Yeah.
But there's also a moon crater within driving distance, assuming your motorcycle doesn't run out of gas.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I guess that would be West Virginia. Then you would go west into the Midwest and everything being empty. I don't know. I don't know. Where are there trees in America? Anywhere, right?
Pretty much anywhere. You just gotta have the right level of hills and valleys, I guess,
Yeah.
for what's if you're matching what's described in the book, then yeah, someplace like West Virginia probably.
Okay. I'm trying to think if I have other questions. So, who would do the soundtrack? We got into the soundtrack. We got into. I don't know. Is there a video game studio or creator you really like that you think would do justice to a game version of Mercy?
So, I mean, my favorite is FromSoft, but kind of the things we've been talking about aren't quite their usual, like what I would expect from them necessarily. I mean, I feel like the sort of ridiculous, um, out of the box approach would be up Kojima's alley. I'd be curious to see what if it went to Kojima, I would just let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. I'd sit in there and be like, "Here's all my ideas," and then he could do whatever he wanted.
You could just make this story. It does seem very up his alley, just in the sense of just like a game that's telling a story and telling a story in kind of this strange way.
Yeah, it is a bit Death Stranding in a way where it's like a lot of walking and just
Mm-hmm.
observing the landscape until you get to these little cinematic moments.
Yeah. The environmental storytelling, the coming across an abandoned theme park and then realizing it's crawling with moonshiners.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the part of
I
the
like how
book
you
that
call them moonshiners
I
too.
mean that just makes the most sense. They drank all the shine from the moon and now they're crazy zombie people. Um,
That's amazing.
yeah. Well, I mean that's one of the parts that stuck with me. I'm not sure why, but
It seems like a fun like that's the part of the book you could turn into a ride too. Like you could
um,
have a theme park ride where you're
where,
um
where you're on the roller coaster and all the crazy hillbilly zombies are coming to eat you. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
that doesn't sound like a very good amusement park ride, but
It's a it's the amusement park that keeps like feral slaves underground and lets them out whenever they get like you know.
that's well. Here we go. That's the lore of Mercy now. I guess they were feral slaves and drank
It's
moon
only
water.
open it's only open like a couple days out of each season because they have to, replenish. Depending on how good you are, if you kill them all, they have to get totally new feral slaves to keep on to starve underground for a while.
So that they're hungry enough. Oh, that goes crazy. I'm trying to think. So when I did this with David, we went into a tangent about Matilda versus Carrie. And so I'm like,
Yeah,
what what
yeah.
what dumb tangent can I get into with Kelby Losack? What fictional fight do we want to discuss, I guess?
Let's see. So if Matilda versus Carrie would, I can't remember how y'all got off on that tangent. Did it have anything even to do with the with Ghosts of East or?
Oh, you know what it is? It's because he had the Matildas are
Right,
characters in
right.
Ghost of West Baltimore, which is one of my favorite parts because like they're mysterious and like there's not a lot talked to about them. Um, so I guess that's kind of like this wolf girl in your book because she's not a crazy moonshiner as far as we can tell,
Yeah.
but she's very Princess Mononoke inspired.
It's almost like is she even real or if she is
Yeah,
real, like what the hell is she? Is she this Princess Mononoke
yeah. What
ass like, forest dweller or
did the boy do? One too many Princess Mononoke head trips, and now he sees them when he's not wearing the headset. Even
yeah, yeah, some kind of glitch or is he puffed on that Kaza stick a little bit too much?
oh, the Kaza, I forgot about that. Yeah, because there's the point where they both go to like do the same drug but separate, so that the other doesn't see him doing it.
Yeah.
What is Kaza?
'Cause Kaza is like sort of like an LSD spiked meth. It's like a synthetic hallucinogenic speed.
Oh, okay. Is that do we? Is there a mechanic of that in the game? Does doing the Kaza confer a benefit or change things every time you do it?
Absolutely. I think you can kind of go like rage mode in Grand Theft Auto 5,
Okay.
how when you're playing what's his face, the redneck Travis, you can like go into that rage mode where you can't really get hurt, but you just kill everything in sight.
Okay. We got Kaza. Are there other survival? Do you want survival elements in this game? Or at least in one version of it where you have to eat and drink and find
I
shelter?
think Yeah, it makes sense for it to be mostly a survival game because, I mean, there's so much walking, so it's like, what else do you do besides just look at shit? Like, it's like you have to sort of watch your terrain, the way that they have to watch out for the water. Like, you're gonna have to avoid the water for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but there should probably be some kind of like ration element as well, where just like it's like an endurance thing. You got to make sure you're resting at the right places, but you could find out like, the story in the book, it flows in this way that you're not quite sure of the details of how dangerous this world is or whatever, but in the game you could, fuck around and find out. Like you don't want to linger in this area too much
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, it's implied there's all these they see like mutant two-headed deer and then they run into the boars
Oh
and
yeah.
everything.
Well, and the boars have like a miasma or something to them, right? Like you shoot them open and they stink.
Yeah, yeah,
Because that's
because they're
another
like,
Princess Mononoke reference.
Oh yeah, that one was blatant actually. I was very much thinking of the possessed the demon boar in Princess Mononoke.
It's all nasty and like covered in worms.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so there'd probably be more like hunting survival shit in the game. You gotta watch out for the mutant animals.
so I guess we know Adventure Time and Princess Mononoke seem to be the big influences on this book.
It's a cartoon basically. It
There's nothing wrong with that.
it's my first kids book.
Right? Not a kid's book. Not reading that to my daughter at night. She'll have nightmares. Um, but then she watches Star Trek and watched Gunbuster, and that had like weird, crazy space monsters. They were blown up in their mech. So
Yeah, I mean, you could skip over the porn and it's minus that, it's
I mean,
kind of a children's
is it
story.
is it really porn if it's just written? Or were you talking about Gunbuster?
No, yeah, no, I was talking about Mercy.
Oh,
I
okay,
guess
good.
smut. Would you call it smut
I guess
since
I
it's
don't.
written?
I feel like for it to be porn or smut, like that has to be the purpose of it.
Mm,
Like them having sex in it doesn't make it porn or smut. Is like what makes it porn or smut is when I'm reading it just to get the porn out of it.
yeah, yeah. Well, what if I said my ulterior motive to this book was to just cushion that scene in this crazy
You just
story?
really wanted to write smut, but you were like, they'll
Yeah.
never let me publish it, so let me just rip off Princess Mononoke in Adventure Time, and then so that I can
Yes.
put this one detailed sex scene in.
That's it. That's
I
it.
guess. Okay, well, maybe there are people reading Mercy just beaten off. They're like, this is what I'm into, and then they're like, oh, I might as well see what happens to this kid now.
Yeah, might as
They
well.
read the rest of the story with post nut clarity.
Yeah, it's a new like I feel like too much porn wants you to it's like a challenge to last until the end. But this one is like, nah, go ahead and get it off and then
And then you'll
you
watch the rest of it.
continue. Yeah, continue the rest, but with a post-nut clarity.
I mean, maybe you've stumbled on something. You should incorporate that into your TV show too.
Yeah,
Be like,
I'm gonna
how
write
do
porn
how do we
next.
get people to watch the show, masturbate, and then watch the rest of the episode now with post nut clarity? Like, how do we write it for that?
Yeah, yeah. Just cast Sydney Sweeney somewhere.
Oh, shit. I gotta look up who that is. I should know who that is. Wait, is that a porn star? It just says
No,
American
just
actress. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Just known for a certain attribute
Gotcha.
and showing it off.
Gotcha. I guess apparently she's in Madam Web.
I
That's
feel
the
like I should know what that is.
that's the Spider-Man movie coming out, but it's not Spider-Man, it's Madam Web. Madam Web. So this is what's weird to me about this movie, and really this movie is just a product of Sony only having the license for Spider-Man characters. So that's why they're making Morbius and uh,
Mm.
Craven the Hunter, the movie. It's like these are not characters that needed their own movie, but you have to keep making them so that Disney doesn't get the whole Spider-Man rights back. Um, Madam Web, what I know of Madam Web was this old lady from like the very like last arc of the old Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s. I think she could travel dimensions because that was the arc where he teams up with a bunch of alternate universe versions of Spider-Man because the Carnage symbiote is hopping dimensions doing stuff. So there's like a version of Spider-Man that's Iron Man, and there's a version that has the Doc Ock tentacles, and there's like a version that's
Mm.
the Hulk, but he turns into a giant spider instead. Like it's all very weird, but like I was like, you're making a movie about the old woman who just says, "Oh, we're gonna travel through dimensions now because we need the TV show to do that." I don't know. Maybe she did more in the comics, but
It seems like probably the direction they're gonna go with that, just more
yeah,
multiverse type shit.
yeah, I don't know. It feels like Sony could be putting money into making Mercy the movie, but instead they're
Yeah,
just picking bottom of the barrel comic book characters.
they absolutely could. I'm trying to get Sam Raimi's people to, cause I was hit up by Sam Raimi's people on some shit, so I'm trying to get them to take a look at Mercy.
Were you really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd be pretty. That'd be pretty tight.
okay,
I mean, he did a Spider-Man, so
okay.
there's that.
He did the good
There's a,
ones. So
yeah,
did
I
did
let
did Sam Raimi actually hit you up over something?
his people, yeah,
Oh,
like the Ghost House Productions, yeah.
that's impressive.
We out here, Broken River out here in a big way. Like
Yeah.
I said, that's why we got to keep David humble because I can already I can already see it. Not really. I don't want to keep any of I don't want to keep any of the homies
Could
humble.
you
I don't.
imagine a humble David? That wouldn't be
No,
David anymore. That would be Dave.
I want my fellow kings seated high on the throne with their gold Jordans and
Yeah. All right. Well, trying to think if there's anything else to talk. Is there anything you want to talk about?
I mean, it's been a blast. I'd love to be back to chop it up about, you know, whatever the fuck. Is this gonna be like so is Untitled Talky Show gonna like is this the whole premise where you take a work of literary fiction or like how does this become a video game?
I was
Or is
keeping it
this
kind of vague just to branch out. The idea was it's really just about taking one thing and adapting it into a different thing. So
mm,
we could talk about Mercy, the Saturday morning cartoon show, in another episode, or one of your other books, or your TV show could come out, and we could say how would this work as a novel? What does the novelization of this show look like? Um, and it's this I did book into video game because I knew David, and David published a book, so I said, well, let's talk about making it a video game, and that was the thing where like you put both of us in the same room and we start talking back and forth to each other, and then people are like, you need a podcast, and I was like, well, I guess I'll do one. um, but
oh
like
yeah.
I also know, like, I have a friend and he publishes tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, but like ones he wrote himself with his own like systems and settings, and then people buy these books either digitally and then play them. So I was like, oh man, I was like, I gotta get a hold of him and ask him like, how do we adapt this into a tabletop RPG? Like, talk to me about your thoughts about that. Or we could even do a three-way call and be like, what does Mercy the tabletop RPG look like? What are the systems
There you
that are
go.
important? um, I have to keep that in mind
Nah,
too.
that'd be dope to do like some three-way where you got somebody who actually works in this type of medium and somebody who does something else and
Yeah,
like how do you cross pollinate this and they
yeah,
can be like, well, this is exactly how I do it.
yeah.
And
That's my hope, is maybe this will get big enough that people will want to be on it. I think my dream guest would be if I could get Gerard Way on, but he's the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, and that's a long shot.
yeah, well, I mean, I've heard him on podcasts before, so
Maybe,
he's
yeah.
the you'd be surprised when you just start reaching out to people. A lot of whom will just be like, "Yeah, cool."
All right. Well, I got to go through all the Broken River books people who wanted to be on first.
Hell yeah.
Because I
We
did,
just kind of we stake our flag early when we
yeah,
see anything. It's like we gotta take over this spot now.
yeah, you were all hyped over it, and like you all sent me copies of your book. I was like, I didn't think I was going to be getting 5 books to read, but here I am. Who do I have
It's
on
good they all
next?
slap.
Yeah, who do I have on next? I guess I should let you decide that, right?
Oh, you should bring on Grant for Bullet Tooth.
Grant for Bullet Tooth. That sounds like a plan. Yeah, I'm trying to do one once a month because that seems easier to coordinate.
Yeah, that's good to as long as you keep it consistent, like I think that's key with the whole podcasting game.
Hmm.
And how it's built, like how podcasts get built is just by lasting. Just by you just last longer. You just
Yeah,
don't stop. So it's whatever kind of consistency you can keep up with
yeah,
is key.
yeah. That well, that's I'm trying to work consistency back into my life since I have the 2 kids and the daughter's special needs, so there's a lot into it, and
Oh,
having
yeah.
having a full-time job on top of that.
Yeah, it's nuts. No, I feel that to the fullest.
Well,
That
I think it has been a pleasure meeting you and talking to you. I'll probably try to have this edited and up by the end of the week.
hell yeah.
Yeah,
Same, bro. I appreciate it. Pleasure chopping it up.
yeah.
And I am hyped on what you're doing here, so definitely keep it up. And I'm a fan of it. I'm gonna watch every episode.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you'll be the first to know when it's up. But yeah, have a good night. It's like what 10 o'clock where you are now.
Yeah, just about.
All right. I thought I heard your one of your kids earlier.
Probably they don't like going to sleep ever.
Yeah, and then and every parent is like, we gotta get them to sleep at the same time. I was like, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, have fun. Do you have how many kids now? Shut up.
All right. Well, I'll let you go. Enjoy your night and have a good one.